This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Tony Kessel, author of It's All in the Lyrics. And welcome to the Phantom Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I love to talk to people, and we started a podcast specifically back in 2016, talking to singer-songwriters, emerging singer-songwriters in a live format, and we're always glad to be in that space with creative people. But music is like my first love, so talking to musicians or artists is always really cool for me. And I want to, this is going to be a good show based on that. And welcome to the show again.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Now, you're the author of It's All in the Lyrics, How Music Helped Me Heal and Find My Voice. It's a music memoir. And have you always been an author?
Actually, no. I got more of I have a more musical background. I've been trying to find a band for 20 years, But yeah, this was kind of my introductory step into, hey, how do I put something out that bears part of my soul and be willing to be transparent enough with pieces of my life and enough to be vulnerable in an artistic realm, you know what I mean?
Yeah, vulnerability is my big thing. Like I think a lot of times, in the world today, like in the algorithms, people are cloning or
Yeah.
copying or trying to find the algorithm. And I've always been a big purveyor of, you know what? If you're an artist, you need to show people the thing that you're scared to show people.
Oh yeah.
You need to have that
Yeah.
vulnerability and authenticity. It's like just jumping on the bandwagon, being like, like the Monkeys are cool, but the Monkeys are a copy of the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
And Badfinger is a copy of the Beatles made by the Beatles.
Yeah.
So it's like I'd rather see something new,
Mm-hmm.
like I Sid Barrett, Pink Floyd.
Right.
That's a different approach. It's like what like I want to see other people try different things that maybe are uncomfortable for people or
Yeah.
strange to people, but that I rather see that than see the same thing 10,000 times.
Right. Yeah. And that was the big thing. In terms of, so I use this book as an outlet to kind of, because there are things, so I go through like family trauma. I talk about all that stuff. I grew up in a foster home, was legally adopted, and mental health stuff, and everyone knows the stigma that comes with that. But
Mhm.
like you said, I was terrified to share some of that stuff. So I serve in the army, and I'm not saying that I would be punished or anything, but in
Yeah, that's
terms
right.
of like, hey, is your mental health right? And people need to see you as strong. They need to see you as a leader. And for a long time, I thought vulnerability was weakness, when in all actuality, in an artistic world, vulnerability is the lifeblood. Like, it is what causes the whole machine to work. And without that, which I was so terrified to do, I was terrified to talk about my mental breakdowns. I was terrified to talk about, suicidal ideation and suicide attempts and stuff like that. But until I really, writing it was the most terrifying thing on the planet. Putting it out into the world and waiting for any kind of reception. I can't tell you the pins and needles, the edge of the seat that you're sitting on, to be like, they're going to judge me. They're going to think I'm unstable. My military career is going to end. It's just all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think people gravitate towards safety. It's like
Yes.
it's a common thing. It's like the reason we have the cortisol response, fight or flight,
Yep.
is everybody thinks, back in the old days, you're in the tribe, you're in the clan, you're in your protected area, right? If you
Yeah.
go outside of that, the wolf or the saber tooth or something's going to get you.
Yeah.
And now we have these virtual wolves at the door.
Yeah.
They just because you put out an idea, you say something, you do something that's not part of the like social moray, the
Yeah.
contract that everybody say this is the norm, and
Yeah.
you did something outside the norm. So now the wolf's at the door, and you're like freaking out.
Yeah. Or the trolls under the bridge.
Yeah, it's hard because like people like it's interesting today that you got all these tech pros running around saying, but people should think out of their box, and then all your workers are in the cube.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how are you supposed to think out the box when you're in the box?
Yeah.
So
Sound. I love it.
yeah, because my other job is I'm a software guy, but I actually get to work remote because I made a decision. I used to be a road warrior, and I was having to work, fly out on Sunday, come back on Thursday, always being in the box. And I was like, you know what? I don't like it because like part of my life is left right brain, and I'm a musician, and I'm a
Yeah.
creative. And I got this, like, was actually cut into my time to be able to create. I said, no, I got to put my foot down. And
Right.
it's hard because like, he's like, what's going to happen if I don't do what I know? If I don't
Right.
do, I know this brings in a certain amount of money. I know this brings a level of security. If I do the unknown, I don't know if I'm going to be safe. And it's always that fight.
Yeah. Like that is in the end, that was kind of the conclusion, like like I told you, I'm not, like a singer without a band. And I had this other, I'm military is very right brain data and analytics, all that stuff. And that piece of me is being fulfilled all the time. But then there's this part that I'm like, oh, I don't know if you've heard of Amy McNeese, We Need Your Art. She wrote
Hmm.
this book. Yeah. And so there's a part of you that's like, oh, when I retire, I'm going
Yeah,
to do
do it
this
then.
art thing. And that's why I finally, I was like, if I don't do something to get this creative um, aspect, my left brain just really doing what I've stifled for years, then I'm denying a large part of who I am. And that was why an author instead of my first artistic thing not being music is I just wanted to get something into the environment to have confidence and know that my story matters and that this piece that I've been stifling, they tell you not to play, be an adult, grow up.
Yeah, yeah. That's the
But
thing is, like, the artist always has to be in that childlike phase. Like, when you learn to ride a
absolutely.
bike, you don't care if you're falling down, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you wanna ride that bike and you're like that 9-year-old, 10-year-old, you're stuffing your knees and, like, you don't get, like, embarrassed because 'cause you're so focused. You're like, same thing with a skateboard or roller skates. Like, when you're young, you'll go through falling down,
Yeah.
and you don't think about it as heavy as if you were trying to do that when you're, like, 24.
Yeah.
If people see you then, he's like, "Oh, maybe you might give up," because
Yeah.
you're so concerned about what people are gonna think.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That was my the other half that I was fighting with is like you just keep stifling this. You're a creative, it's not half of your identity. It
yeah,
is it is significant. It's
yeah,
like
it's like a
80%
primary.
of your personality, and you're running on this 20% right brain because it's logical. You need it to make money. You need it to support your family. It's safer. It's way
Yeah, a lot
safer. I
safer.
go, I go to my day job and I come back home and there's money in my bank account. Whereas like writing a book,
Yeah,
like
the starving
royalties,
artist is scary,
yeah,
and some people have that as a badge of honor. Because
yeah,
I run around with artists and say, "Well, you can't have a real day gig. You need to immerse yourself and kind of this bohemian like Jack Kerouac on the road." And it's like, hey, like, and sometimes you could be too extreme. And what I
yeah,
found is like it's a middle ground of there's nothing wrong being a working artist, then figuring out that balance to like not be like homeless and not be like without any security and be
yeah,
the starving artist. It's like you don't have to go that far.
yeah,
It's a level of like what you're willing to do on the spectrum. Some people like to push it, like 90, 10, 80, 20, 60, 40. It's like depends on what are you comfortable doing.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. That's very interesting.
that's what I found. Is like there's some people like, oh, you're a sellout because you still got your day job. It's like, really?
Yeah,
I'm still putting out material,
yeah,
right? And like, how long does it take you to get material? I'm still throwing stuff out into the ether,
yeah.
and it's like so I'm still doing my artistic work.
Right. Yeah. And I think when you talk to like normal people, normal like non-creatives, I don't think they fully understand how essential creating is for us. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like just
cathartic. Yeah,
that
a
whole
lot of
putting
times.
things out.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll go through stuff I never even gets out. It's cathartic, or I'm working through something.
Yeah.
So there's I for all the stuff I put out, I put out a lot. There's a lot of stuff I haven't put out. I mean, I've got like 5 albums in the can
Yeah.
that I haven't put out because I'm trying to like I finally decided like, you know what? I want to try to take all this content and kind of turn it into one cohesive thing out of
Yeah.
all these things. And normally I don't do that. Normally I would just throw it at the wall.
Yeah.
But I decided like I'm going to try to do that, see what happens if I try to curate my own work and make something. but it's taken longer than I thought. So it's like I'll still throw a single out here and there, but it's like you make decisions, and you never know where you're going to be. But you have to, like, art is kind of point in time, like wherever you are is kind of where what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was curious about that because I see those two camps, specifically in the music world. There's those people, and right now trying to get into any type of social media algorithm or seeing what sticks or people actually appreciate. So they just throw song after song after song and see what
Yeah.
sticks. And that's kind of the vein that they stay in once they've found an audience. But then there's people, it sounds like with those 5 projects, and then with I'm very much like you. Like I would rather hone it on the wheel back here and then present it. And I don't really care what it is. I'm confident with what it is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what process do you see to be better in that?
Well,
Like,
look,
do
for
you
years
spaghetti
I
to the
was.
wall, or?
Yeah, it was weird. Like for years, like I'm a SoundCloud artist. That's one of my primary places I put stuff, and there you can kind of throw things at the wall and
Yeah,
then see what happens, because you can get immediate feedback, and suddenly it's like if you get one song it gets like 100 plays and you get another one gets like 5,000. It's like, whoa, the one that gets 5,000, maybe I should push that out to Spotify,
yeah,
because that one's actually getting like a beta reader. Like for
yeah.
authors, SoundCloud's kind of like the beta reader, because you can
Okay.
throw things out there and then suddenly you can see if something goes for, like, you only get like 5 people liking it, and then suddenly on this one you get 5,000. That kind
Yeah,
of tells you maybe if I push that further, it's going to do good. So
yeah,
it gives you a way to do that. And so that's one of the things I've always done is I throw things out on into that space and see what happens. And then I go and I take it further if I see, adoption, where people adopt, like, oh, they like it. Then I
yeah. That makes sense. So test bed audience. But so how do you rectify the difference if you really, because this is my experience,
yeah, I might
is
like
like
something more than they do.
I'll put 2 things out like you just said, and the thing that I'm really proud of will get 100.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I'm like, what? Why did that take off? The 5,000, and your inclination as an artist is to replicate the 5,000, even though it didn't create joy in you.
Yeah.
It just resonated with people, and then the piece that had 100 views, or it's
Yeah.
where
So,
your
well,
heart's
sometimes
really at.
this is why I like the album, because I will put out albums. And if I thought that if the piece that didn't get the numbers, but it was part of a cohesive space, this is kind of like what people did in the 70s. In the 70s, when you did an album, you have your hit singles and then you have your deeper cuts or B-sides.
Yeah,
And artists tend to like their deeper cuts or B-sides more than their singles. They find it more enjoyable to play those because they actually usually mean more.
yeah,
And so within the album format, you have a place to do that. If you're living on a playlist in the single format, then you kind of get stuck as like, which one should I go with? But I've always been like an EP or albums guy. So the stuff that doesn't work, but is part of a cohesive project, I'll still put out.
yes, yeah, yeah. And I'm a B-sides guy. Like I always look for that hidden gold, that because things that take away in the mainstream or take off in the mainstream, it's there's always the you know B-side, because cassettes. I grew up on cassettes. The stuff
Yeah,
on the back half of the album, you're like,
it's
wait,
usually
or
better.
the last track on an album that usually is not a single, but it's the culmination of that project, and it just hits every piece of you,
Yeah, I've
leaving you to
always
want to flip back to tape A side and play it again.
the deeper cuts were always my thing. I mean, I'm a guy
Yeah,
I'll go listen to like all 10 hours of the basement tapes from Dylan and the band. Like I
yeah,
have an archive that has like 9 hours of Dylan with Robbie Robertson in the band at Big Pink, and it's way beyond what was officially released. It's all their
yeah,
process. And being a musician, I love listening to archives that show somebody's process. I've got stuff from Hendrix with him talking to the recording engineers, right? With him talking to Noel and Mitch Mitchell and telling them, like, oh no, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I like that because that shows me the process. I even listen to stuff with the Beatles like that. It's like where Lennon's talking to McCartney and they're working stuff out. They're
yeah,
talking to Ringo and telling them to change the time signature. Like that, to me, that's what I like. I like to know that.
yeah, yeah. You want to know how the sausage is being made.
Yeah, because that's like part of the process, like artistic process. I want to dive into like what are their choices? What are their filters? What are they looking for?
Right.
And how do they work together? And
Yeah.
it's really interesting when you see the dynamics, like I did the dynamics in the Who
Hmm.
versus the dynamics in Zeppelin, or versus the dynamics in the Beatles or the band, and you see like in a band was like everybody was like an amazing artist, like
Yeah.
everybody could sing, everybody could write, and so it's like wow, it's like and then you see a band like the Beatles where they're everybody can write, but it's really two guys that are alpha, Lennon and
Yeah.
McCartney, kind of driving everything, and you're like, what happens there?
Yeah. Yeah. When you said that, I was thinking ego, because I mean, if you're that good of an artist, how do you put ego aside to follow somebody else's vision? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's interesting. Have you, when you're listening to those tapes, do you hear ego pop out a little bit?
Yeah, with some guys like like Robbie Robertson, the band, everybody could write, everybody could sing, but he liked to write the songs.
Yeah.
He kind of dictated, even though it seemed like everybody is actually an amazing artist and singer and player, but he was kind of like the guy that was saying like I'm the like manager of this art project, and what I say is kind of going, and
Okay.
other people could input, leave on if he said, well, it doesn't work, I'm going to change it. Levon had the guts to say, like, I'm going to sing it this way.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like he would say, like, oh yeah, I'm not singing. Robbie told me this, but I'm doing what I want. So you get some people like would challenge, like
Yeah.
Daltrey would challenge Pete Townsend. Like if Pete told him, no, you shouldn't do it that way, and it's like, no, I'm doing it this way.
Yeah.
And Keith Richards is famous with Jagger. They would get into fights where
Yeah.
like Keith like has a ramshackle way of doing things. Mick, even though for all his image, he's kind of like a businessman. He's very precise. He's very logical, and
Yeah.
Keith is not as much that way.
Yeah.
So Keith was more like, it's like feel. It's like I feel it should be like this, and it's like, and Mick wants it like a businessman. It's like no, it should be like that. It's like no, and then sometimes Keith would just walk out or not participate or just say I'm done for today. We're not doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's amazing to see a band like that with that much ego could make it 50 plus years, you know?
Yeah, it was sometimes they would have like periods where they couldn't work because they were just mad at each other.
Yeah.
But like they always like unlike the Beatles, they just blew up. When the Stones they were kind of this volatile thing, but they
Yeah.
kept on going. And the Who was kind of like that. They were like almost totally independent people. It was almost like they're falling apart. Like they're the ultimate like progressive punk rock band at the same time. They're like a
Yeah.
punk band and a progressive rock band, and they're fighting with themselves. And they're fighting with their own idea. Are you punk or are you progressive? Are you like Yes, or are you like the Clash?
Yeah.
The proto Clash is like that was their dynamic. They was kind of really volatile.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. I think it breeds creativity to have some volatility.
Yeah. It does for sure. And that's where, yeah, um, like a lot more into the modern like hard rock scene. Obviously, I know all everything that I love comes from that. So like the recent passing of Ozzy Osbourne, like
Oh,
being a
Ozzy,
metal guy,
yeah, he's awesome. I mean, he's like the
there's
Beatles of heavy metal.
yeah, nothing like I was getting text messages the day he died, like sorry for your loss, and but like Ozzy like was the bed of everything that I listened to. Like nothing I love would exist without him. Even if I didn't always get into what he was doing independently or that, like Black Sabbath, I mean, it was cutting edge stuff, but it's like a lot of anytime an artist even chooses to change direction in the modern hard rock scene where they're like, I'm a really big fan of this band. It's Blindside. They're from Sweden, but it's
Mhm,
like they do two albums I mean, they don't release them, but they'll do two albums almost the same vein, and then
mhm.
they kind of reinvent slightly and do two other albums. And they really haven't done much lately, but that was kind of agitating as a consumer of music. That like I was like, no, I like that other stuff. Like, give me one more album of that,
Yeah.
But it's not always
Yeah, the
it's not
artist
always where they want to go,
yeah,
like
it's like the
they want to
artist
pick up and
mindset
move.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
think of like a Bowie, he would reinvent himself. Like there's people with this love like his like the idea of Ziggy Stardust. Now
Yeah.
Ziggy Stardust, you could have just stayed in that. He could have just done that Ziggy the whole time.
Yeah.
But he chose sometimes to go with like an R&B sound,
Yeah.
like a Young Americans. That's not the same as what Ziggy is. Aladdin Sane, the stuff he did in Berlin with Brian Eno is like the precursor of new wave. And it's like he's doing stuff that is dynamically like that's not even the same box. You're changing all the time, and that's where some artists want to be. They want to be that dynamic. They want to an audience. They'll lose an audience.
Yeah.
They'll lose it and gain a different audience, and it's like 'cause that's where their process is. That's like they don't really care.
Right. Yeah, they just like it's that creative play that we were talking about. It's like, yeah, and I always wonder that because it's easy to get stuck in the rut of what is working, but there's that whole exploration of what else you could be capable of. You know what I mean?
Like Zeppelin, when you get to Kashmir, that was
Yeah.
not what they were doing. Like Black Dog and
Yeah.
other things. Like they started to because like John Paul Jones was really interested in like what can you do with these synths.
Hmm.
And he's an amazing bass player, but he's really good on synths. And
Yeah.
so he started going that direction, going more progressive. And some people are like, "What the heck is that? That's not
Yeah.
what I'm used to. Like I
Yeah.
don't. I want Black Dog.
Yeah.
I don't want that." But it's like I always like the fact that when bands are willing to kind of push it, you see what like a Pink Floyd from being a
Yeah.
super psychedelic band to being this really operatic rock opera band.
Yeah.
It's totally different than what Sid Barrett's vision was.
Yeah.
By the time they get to the big projects they did, there were these basically kind of taking what Pete did with Tommy and Quadrophenia and going even deeper into these rock operas.
Yeah. So what do you think drives that? Do you think that is just a desire to like explore and go out, or is it like a movement? Like,
I think it's like if these artists like I thought times in progressive rock, the guys who get very operatic like Yes and Pink Floyd and the Who, Styx, to get these bands that want to tell these stories, and
yeah,
then they start seeing like, hey, rock opera is a vehicle. We can actually have a connected album that tells a story.
yes,
Yeah, and it's because they're actually trying to use the media to actually just not just create singles.
right,
Not they're trying to actually make artistic statements, and they're using it like an author would write a book.
yes,
And some artists they never go there. They're like a blues
right,
artist, usually, they're not gonna go there. You know,
yeah,
that's not their point. Well, but that's some people are using the art form to do different things, and it's storytelling and a very wide ranging storytelling that takes like the full length of the album
yeah,
is their point.
yeah. Yeah, so as a musician, that's what I'm drawn to is the concept album. So like if I sit down and try to write like an independent song, I find that they last like 8 minutes.
Yeah,
But if I can put it in a concept, I'll be like, hey, I don't need to resolve this because I can put it in the next song. And so it kind of makes the whole movement, each thing could stand independent, but just having the freedom to know that like, hey, I don't need to get every single thing in here. I can put this element and expose a different piece of what happened in
yeah,
a
'cause you're
previous
telling a
track. You know
story.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's interesting because there's an audience that still likes that. I mean, there are A&R people will tell you that you can't do that, right? That they trying to do like a Stairway to Heaven, trying to do a Bohemian Rhapsody, trying to do
Yeah.
something like Tommy or Quadrophenia, that's not the thing. But the fact is, like in hip hop, people are doing concept albums. Like Tyler the Creator does concept albums, right?
Yeah.
There's other artists in hip hop that do concept albums. So concept albums aren't like not a thing. It's just that
Yeah.
maybe in the rock format, people haven't done something that resonates like a Tommy or a Quadrophenia or like a Styx. They just maybe haven't done it to get, it has been done. The Eagles did it, but it's
Yeah.
like it's like it depends on like how do you present it. I think there's a way to still present in the rock genre that kind of form and have it work. It's
Right.
just that people haven't figured out how to do it. Doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that conversation of making each a piece independent or strong enough to stand on its own,
Yeah.
but still have all the necessary bridges to go from, song to song.
Well, you think of like with like the Who, like Pinball Wizard was the single to Tommy,
Yeah,
and it works independently of Tommy.
yeah,
That song works without you knowing the whole story, and that's kind of like the key to some of these rock operas is like you got to have like maybe one single so you can present that, and then the rest of them cannot be singles, right? But like at least one of them might need to be a single. And I think that I was watching a documentary where Pete realized he needed to do that.
yeah,
Initially, he wasn't going to do it. Like
right.
he wasn't going to make a single, and then they kind of A&R and all the people around him say, "Well, we kind of need one,"
Yeah,
and he was getting ticked off, and then he finally figured it out. He said, "Oh, I'll do this thing with pinball."
yeah, yeah,
And it's that worked, and he actually sent it to a journalist, and the journalist said, "Yeah, that's it." So he actually got some feedback. It was interesting. Before he actually released it to the public, he like let a journalist like check it out. So he like,
Same thing like the SoundCloud concept you were just
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, that's what the artists used to do. They'd have these like trusted individuals and A&R, like these trusted fans, the super fans or whatever. They would like say, "Hey, what do you think?"
Yeah,
And then they'll kind of let them know, like, I'm going the right way.
yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing that I've noticed over life. So I was born in the '80s, so we grew up where the everything was pushed to us. It was force fed to us.
Oh yeah,
So we grew up watching movies in movie theaters, and we listened to the songs that they told us to watch or listen to on the radio. Television was prescribed. Like we didn't have streaming services. So I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Is like we have watched a completely plugless, absolutely real world transform into like you're now the consumer and you dictate. And we've watched that evolve, and we have like at this point in time being 40, like I have half of my life on both spectrums. And
yeah,
so that's the other thing is like albums and just pinging on the nostalgia of what art does for us and how it soundtracks certain pieces. Home Alone, for example, like if we want to go into the movie arena, like as a kid, that was a big thing. The albums that came out around those times soundtracked what we did, and I'm kind of fearful with everything being on streaming, and how you just get to consume whatever you want to at this point in time. That what does that exactly look like for nostalgia and driving memory? And I mean, artists still have space in that, but it just feels different.
yeah. Well, I've been
It
concerned with the
in my
modern, like,
experience.
yeah, but a lot of modern audiences like are very distracted. Like I'm a child of the
Yes.
'70s, right? So I didn't
Yeah.
have the internet. Had maybe 4 TV channels, couple radio stations. So when I got a Led Zeppelin record, I listened to the whole thing. I
Yeah.
wasn't distracted by a video game. I wasn't distracted by TikTok. I wasn't getting pinged on my
Right.
on 4 different devices, watching an Xbox, have a PlayStation, have like TikTok. And so I think a lot of times is people are using music as background. People, when they get a song off a playlist, they don't go back to their album and listen to
Right.
the songs from the album. So I
Right.
think in that way, the listener is not a dedicated listener to the form. They're actually on so many different other media forms
Yes.
that I find that music sometimes is getting pushed down. It's kind of like the Napster when Napster came along and streaming came along, people started to like, oh, I don't need to get this $16 CD and listen to the songs I don't want to listen to. I only listen to the single.
Right.
I think only listening to the single was like reading the outside cover of a book or reading
Right.
the cliff notes to a book, and you kind of sometimes even if you didn't get it back in the '70s, like maybe I didn't get what was on this record, but if I listened to it enough times, maybe I would get it. But now you don't even
Yes.
take the time to get it.
Right. No, no, and that's the big thing. And as a consumer, I've kind of fallen into that pattern. Like, oh, that's a really good song, and I've had to retrain myself to like, what's the context of this one song on this album? And I kind of miss that. I long that. There's I'll go off the cuff. There's this one album that I got as I graduated from college. I was doing retail or high school. Retail therapy. I needed a new album, and I was
Mhm.
like, I was feeling all these weird emotions as I was about to go to college. It's Green Wheels, Summer Holiday, and I was just jonesing. My mom was shopping for groceries in the store, and I was like, I need a new album tonight, and it better be good, because if it sucks, like I just spent all of my money on this one album, and so now I'm just gonna have to live with it. And Greenville was that way. They never made it big, but I remember just playing basketball to this one CD and just being like, man, this album right now, this moment, and it like if I'm listening to any of the songs and it just hits right, I go back to that moment in time. And like, man,
Yeah.
I wish I had that simplicity of just shooting a basketball and not having to worry about paying bills or like, hey, what am I going to do? Laundry, all that stuff. Like, I just got this moment with this album that I miss now, like, and so I kind of am looking for those experiences where you get the ability to really digest and consume art the way that you want to, and not the way that it's just like, here, or, like any social media, you got 3 seconds to hook people. Three
Yeah, yeah.
seconds.
It's like the attention span is so low now talking to
Low.
authors
Yeah.
that used to be able to read 300,000 word books, and now people can barely read 60,000 word books.
Right.
And so same thing with music. Like I grew up listening to songs that were like 5 minutes, 15 minutes long. You're listening
Yeah.
to stuff like jazz, like fusion jazz. You got pieces that are 9, 10, 15 minutes long. Progressive rock, things that are whole album sides on the S albums or Genesis albums are like 20 minutes long songs.
Yeah.
And people today say, well, you got to do it in like 1.58 seconds, minutes. Like you can't do anything over 3 minutes. And it's like,
Yeah.
to me as an artist, like my songs don't usually kick in until like,
Yeah.
2 minutes into it. So it's like,
Yeah.
and if you've got like, different sections, you have an intro, you have outros, you have like a melody one, melody two, break one, break two, you got song structure.
Right.
Some of these songs are just loops or just hooks. Like the whole song is a hook
Yeah.
without any other, no decrescendo, no crescendo, no space between the notes, no, timing changes, no key changes. Like I get very frustrated with that because
Yeah.
I'm somebody that I'll go listen to stuff that, I listen to classical music and
Yeah.
I like something that has movement.
Right.
I like things that has space between the notes or build ups or breakdowns. Look, why not? Why can't you do that? Just because there are consumers that aren't really real music fans. They're kind of
Right.
hook fans,
Yes.
right? And they're not really into the dynamics. If you ask them to kind of do music analysis, they would say, "Oh, I like it," or "I don't like it." Well, that
Yeah.
doesn't really tell you that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Now, I was watching a reaction video a little while ago. Somebody was playing Metallica's "Sad but True" for. She was like I don't know. It was about 10 years ago, but they're like, is there any lyrics to this?" And "Sad but True's" got that awesome, like, all that build up, and like, as a
Yeah,
metal guy, I'm just like, oh, this is going places. I can't wait. And you're like
yeah,
anticipating where the song is gonna go. And sometimes they'll fool you and go in a different direction, and then you're mad,
yeah, yeah,
or it goes exactly the way you anticipate it, and but yeah, "Sad but True" is not Metallica's most complex. It's still a 4 or 5 minute song. It's
yeah.
not like the 7 minute epics of like One or anything. But
Yeah, I just like
yeah,
the
like,
dynamics.
yeah, yeah, but to see her react to it, to be like, why aren't they singing yet? Like, I need this to be over.
Yeah,
No,
well,
you
that's
don't.
like
Like, it's going places, go on the journey.
yeah, well, the people that don't experience like the full extent of an artist, to me, like you see it today. Like if you try to take somebody, like my daughter's 25, and if I try to show her a film from the 70s or the 60s, she's like, "Oh, the pacing's so slow, it's boring."
Yeah.
But there's stuff happening, right? Film directors in the past, sometimes they don't have a lot of dialogue because the actors, you actually have to look at what they're doing with their face, what they're doing
Yes.
with their eyes. And if you're distracted and looking at your phone instead of looking at the movie,
Yeah.
Like you don't understand what's going on because you need to actually be involved and pay attention.
Yeah.
But the problem is people are so distracted they don't have time to pay attention.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
That's,
kind of a hard nut to crack if you're an artist. Like if you're trying to trip that algorithm, you're gonna have concessions. You're gonna
yeah.
have to make concessions. So you have to make a decision. Like, can I can I be successful if this thing only gets 50,000 fans? Or am I a failure if I don't get to like the million? And if you
Right.
don't build your structure where you have to live at like a million views, if you could actually make money selling t-shirts and buttons and tapes and vinyl to a fan base that's maybe 25,000, 50, but they actually buy your stuff,
Yeah.
you can actually do well with that group if you don't overextend. If you don't go
Right.
and spend tons of money in the studio and be in debt,
Right.
right? Then having 25,000 fans is a failure. But if you do it yourself and you engineered it yourself and you didn't have to spend the crazy money in the studio, you actually might break even or make money.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's the other artist quandary is like, do you do what is, and I think we've kind of already touched on that. Do you just keep going in the direction of what is going to sell, and or do you just do, like, you put out what you is actually meaningful to you? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I think if you
Knowing the attention span is so low in the modern audience, like, do you still do the things that feed to really and force them to listen, like headphones
well,
on
the
and
trick is
lockdown,
like trick is you could do something that really speaks to you, but then what you've got to do is figure out how to get that on TikTok, but still be you, right? So you find a way to present it with the short clips, like the cuts, and you present it in a way that's appealing because the way it's still your original material, but you present it as a clip on a
yeah,
TikTok or a short or an Instagram. You get an audience, you show up at a club, you start getting start showing up at places where you can play, and
right,
you start getting buzz. You sell T-shirts, you sell buttons, you're available to sign the stuff. If
right,
you go and do that and you start to show up and you start to be consistent in terms of anywhere you are, if you consistently show up, if you're consistently there, if you consistently put the stuff out, even if it's your own thing, eventually you can get an audience beyond just your local scene. You could get people in Norway or Netherlands or
yeah,
that's what tends to happen now is like it might not be a hit in your local scene, but somebody in Australia might like it,
yeah,
and so if you put it on the net, you might get a bigger, you'll find audiences in different places that you wouldn't imagine. And so like if you never put it out, you won't know that.
yeah, yeah. And that's the other thing. I've noticed even a trend lately, and I think it kind of came from the whole COVID-19 thing. The deluxe album. Like, as a
Yeah.
music fan, I used to love the deluxe albums and metal guys. Demon Hunter is like my favorite. They're graphic design people by trade,
Hmm.
and they release albums, but they would release these packages that would come with like jewelry, t-shirts,
Yeah. The merch.
bandanas,
Merch is the thing.
postcards. And their most recent, they just announced an album like a week ago, and they didn't have a deluxe version, and I was super sad.
Oh
But
wow.
so what they're doing is this VIP concert experience, and so you go to their concerts, which every music fan wants to do. You meet and greet the band, you get a photo op, and that's where the deluxe edition of the album sits.
Oh,
And
it's
there was,
only there.
yeah, so there was this, because when I didn't see the deluxe edition, I went on to social media. I was like, what in the world? And I started paying attention to everyone's like, where's the deluxe? Like, I live for deluxe editions. It's one of the only reasons I exist. Been
Yeah.
waiting for Demon Hunter's deluxe album. And I noticed a lot of the fans coming to the conclusion, I bought the album, and then I placed like, I bought a ticket for their next concert within days of each other, and I was like, oh, it's shifting from this to that, because a lot of bands died in COVID-19 not being able to tour, and
Yeah,
so,
touring is how you make the most money because streaming doesn't give you any money. It's just a way
right,
to promote the record. The
yeah, like
merch
a third
is
of a
what
cent,
brings you the money. So if you can, the combination, if you can have a merch table at the concert, you will make more money from the concert and the merch table. And even
Right.
online sales can kind of not be as good unless you're really good at it. If you're good at it, you can make money from your online. But a lot of
Right.
times the people aren't really good at doing it. And so physically selling at the merch table is more guaranteed money.
Yeah. Because ticket sales used to be it, right?
Yeah.
Like
That
in
was
the
the whole
80s and
thing.
90s, it's you went
Touring
on the road.
bands. Yeah. I mean, that's like of all the bands I like Husker Du, a lot of the Sub Pop stuff on IRS, all the small labels, SST, all those bands were like in the Econoline vans going from city to city.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's how they worked.
And
Yeah.
the hope is that your van will earn you enough money to buy a bus, to earn you enough money to fly private, and you can
Yeah.
go wider. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's where you start.
yeah, and like so even the like Ticketmaster and like how like concert venues, they're even slicing more of the artist take, so it's like shifted from
Yeah, well, they want to even take some of these companies now want to take the merch. Like merch was always something that the band
yeah,
controlled, and now some of these people
yeah,
want to actually get a cut of the merch. It was like that's how they stay alive. A lot of these bands stay
exactly,
alive from the merch. If you start saying you got to cut, even some record deals now on independent labels, people have to be careful because like they're saying they're going to get a percentage of your merch. It's
yeah,
like, what are you doing? Like, I'm paying for the recording time. I'm
yeah,
paying for this. I'm paying for that. And now you want to cut into my merch?
yeah,
That's how I make money.
yes, yeah, and that's again that transformation again being our age, like you seriously watched and you're like, oh, if I appease to a record label and I do this and I get a contract, then I can hit the road, I can build a fan base, and bam, then I can start eventually doing what I love to do. um
Yeah, it's just hard. It's like a lot of times if you stay do it yourself, what you need is a booker. Like people don't realize sometimes you need a booking agent, not a label. If
right,
you can have a booking agent that consistently keeps you working and they take a percentage and then you may work out that they don't get the merch rate or whatever, or they get a very small part of merch. But like
right,
sometimes the label really doesn't do that much, right?
right,
A lot of times they don't give you advances. They actually make you pay for the recording. So what are they doing? Right.
yeah,
And if they say there's a well, we'll get you 100,000 streams, it's like what? I make 30 bucks, 300
yeah,
bucks. It's like that's
yeah,
not worth me paying you 3,000, $10,000 in the studio when I could have just done it at home.
oh yeah,
Right? Like, why would I pay you that kind of money and then the streaming results you're giving me don't even give me anywhere near what I gave you?
yeah,
So that's what a lot of bands experience is the only way they break even is going on the road. And then if they start saying you got to give them 50% of your road income,
yeah,
like that seems like you're just pulling from me. You're not really giving me anything.
right,
I mean, back in the day, they give me an advance on 3 albums, and then eventually you owed them money. It still was a bad deal, but I mean, at least you felt like something. You like you got booked, you had money in your pocket. But then what would happen is that by your third album, if you didn't recoup it, then you were dropped.
right,
And then
yeah,
you're touring just to, with your hit single to kind of pay back the label and stay alive.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
it's never been that easy. It's hard.
some of those guys haven't even paid. Like I've seen something on Slipknot, like they still don't technically own their first album or something like that
Yeah, there are
because of that.
situations.
Like,
Yeah, they really finagle. I mean, these guys are like financiers. These aren't like artists. These are like guys from Wall Street type of guys,
yeah,
right? And they write contracts that the bands don't understand. I mean, you're 17, 21, 23. You don't understand. You don't go get a lawyer. Most of the time, you don't get a lawyer. And if you don't read the contract, if you don't own the master, if you don't own the rights to the sync licensing, a lot of
yeah,
these bands get ripped because like if they don't make sure they own their sync licensing, their song can get put in a movie and then they don't get any of the money. If they didn't
right,
make sure in the contract that they own the sync licensing, if they get thrown into a TV show, a commercial, a movie, video game, and they didn't explicitly say they should get the rights, then they don't get the money, and that's where the money is.
yeah, yeah,
So you really have to be careful and understand, like, you wanna own your master, you wanna have sync licensing, you wanna get paid, royalties, You don't want these one-time payments that some of these labels will give you, like a one-time. Maybe they give you, you think it's cool because they give you 50,000,
Yeah.
but you signed away your sync licensing.
Yeah.
You signed
Which
away
is
your
the whole
merchandising.
return income from what you created that you need to keep building.
Yeah, if you got
Yeah.
these bands that realize that and they maintain their own their licensing, they maintain, like Pearl Jam was like famous to like we want our masters.
Right.
We want to get the majority of the money coming. That's why they fought Ticketmaster.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Yeah.
Because it's like we don't want you taking all the money
Yeah.
because it's our art.
Yeah.
you know, like why
And
should,
it's like, they don't even, like, from what I understand and the conversations I'm hearing now, they won't even approach you if you don't have a certain follower account on social medias.
oh
Which
yeah.
at that point, why are you even talking to them? Like, you already have enough of an audience base or fan
Yeah, if I
base.
got a million
Like, you don't
followers,
need them.
why would I need you?
Yeah.
Because I
Like,
can sell everything to them. Like
yeah, directly.
I could go sell T-shirts to them. I don't need you for that. I could get a booker and this book,
Yeah.
right? And if I got, and I can, if I want to do it myself, I could book myself.
Right.
Back in the day in 2017, I used to just book myself. I didn't have a booker
Okay.
because the booker you got to pay them.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you find a way that you can take the time to do it yourself or have somebody like close to you do it that you trust. But even then, you gotta be careful because even family members can rip you off.
Yeah.
There's tons of stories of like fathers and uncles and mothers like not giving their kids like, oh, mom's stealing from me.
Yeah. Joe Jackson.
Hey, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the other thing. And I think you bring up a really interesting point is because as I wrote my book, as I do my music, like, I I like the aspect of creative control. I like doing the graphic design. I like all of the art pieces, but the stuff I hate, like, I hate marketing. I
Marketing's
don't.
hard. That's the hard part.
Yeah, like I want to create art. I don't want to get on an email and talk to a person about possibly getting on a show, and dudes like Oliver Tree is like, "Hey man, I want to make art." And no offense, but he's like, "I don't want to sit on podcasts. I don't want to talk about my album. I want to make another album." Like,
Yeah.
but this is so how do you rectify that when you talk about doing your own booking and scheduling? Is you just see that as a necessary evil, or did you grow to love that? Was that
Well,
a part of
it's kind of
building?
like a control freak. If you're a control freak and then you don't
Yeah.
like the results, like I have actually gone on
Yeah.
some smaller labels and I depended on them to do stuff, and then I found out I was actually doing better than them. So,
Yeah.
like if I find somebody that actually is good at their job and they actually give me better results than me doing it myself, then
Yeah.
fine. But if I find that I can actually do it better than them, then I say forget it because like that's where I ran into it because I have left brain, right brain, and I do business stuff. I'm a business guy in my day job. I said, well, it's not so hard for me to do that,
Yeah.
so I might as well do it. Um,
Yeah.
because the cut that some of these people want makes it so it's not viable.
Right.
So the problem I have was that some of these people that want to come and do your SEO and want to do this, and they take a
Yeah.
cut that makes you not hardly break even.
Right.
And so, like, if somebody's doing a cut that doesn't make you break even and they're not really performing, like if you're gonna do that for me, then you need to show me that you're gonna actually give me a return on my investment, and I'm
Yes.
actually gonna pay. I'm gonna get back more than what I gave to you. In a
Right.
lot of cases with the arts, is like you never get a good return on your investment. And so, if that's the
Yeah.
situation, like, why would you be in that? I mean, sometimes it's a necessary evil because these people aren't actually being upfront, honest, and true.
Yeah. And so do you find joy in that extra stuff, or you just like, no, like, I don't need to, and I
I
say the
don't know
word
if it's
joy like
joy.
it matters.
It's not joy, it's
Yeah.
more like a reality, a fiscal reality of, like, if I spend this money and they don't do their job, I'm not getting it back.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so it's kinda like a necessary evil
Yeah.
that I happen to be able to do. Like, if I was totally unable to do it, then I would say, "Well, I gotta figure out a way to give it to somebody else."
Yeah.
Um, it's just, like, trying to find somebody that can actually do it right is the rub, because
Yes.
there's so many people out there just doing it because that's their profit model. Is saying that they do it, but then not really, kind of giving smoke and mirrors and
Right.
making you think they're doing something and when they're not.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And so there's a lot of people out there, vulture type of people, and it's hard to distinguish. And if you're not a business guy or you're not somebody that can crunch the numbers, you might not realize it. And then that's the problem. Is like artists are always getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
'Cause that's not what we want to do. Like
Right.
we want to do the art.
Yeah. Yeah. That was going to be my comment to what you say is like, we want to create, a lot of, so maybe being in the traditional space is good for art, is what you're saying. Like, you and I have had to have regular careers and hang out in this place where analytics and data and charts drove every piece of success out there, that it almost allowed us to develop fully as people, to use all of our talents appropriately. Is that what I'm kind of hearing you say?
Yeah, I mean, because it's useful to know how to read a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
to know how to read a ledger, to understand like
Yeah.
profit loss. It's useful to know that. And if you're an artist and say, "Well, I don't want to know that at all," like we've got lots of examples of artists that didn't know anything about that, and then they got totally ripped off.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's a point where it's like, okay, this is the real world. This is the world I want it to be. And so you have to have some compromise, and like, oh, some of my artistic time I got to spend a couple hours on this accounting thing or this
Yeah.
booking thing or this marketing thing, because if I don't, like, it's probably not going to go that well, right?
Right.
And so that's the reality, and you can want it not to be that way, but it happens to be that way. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the hard truth, and people are like, oh, how do I get around it? So sometimes you can't get around it, you got to go through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, you're
That's a
just
hard.
creating in the ether. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think a lot of times it's really, I think it's still cool. The big thing is being an artist to show up consistently and put things out in the ether. You do want to have ability to edit, but there are some cases where like I have a percentage of my work that I just consistently put something out, right? And then there's other parts of the work that I curate. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of having a spectrum of like, it shouldn't be like all or nothing.
Right.
Like, if you look at your things, like, there's some stuff you probably can consistently put out, and there's other stuff that you can curate. It doesn't have to be like it's one or the other.
Right.
You could actually do both. If you do both, you'll be more successful because, like, if you're sitting around for 3 years and you never put anything out versus, like, some of your stuff you put out and the other stuff you curate, then you still have a presence.
Yes.
And that's where some people make the mistake is like it's all or nothing. It's like on or off. It's like, no, have a compromised point of view.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing that's changed over time. If you remember, bands used to not they'd release albums every 2 to 3 years, and that was normal. And you would just have to live with what
You have
they
to
gave
wait.
you and be happy. And
Yeah.
now it's like, if you're not releasing something every year, a new album with singles in between teasing the new thing, you see what I'm saying? And like, it comes
Yeah,
down
yeah,
to
you
attention
kinda
span
need to be
again.
more, it's like, in the '50s, Motown would consistently put out work all the time. Sometimes they put the same single by different bands because
Yes.
it didn't
Yeah,
work
I
with
noticed that.
one, it worked with another,
Yeah.
and they'd constantly be putting out content
Yeah.
all the time. It's kinda what we see today, and if
Yeah.
things weren't album focused, they were more single focused, but they would be m moving writers around, moving singers around, bouncing things off and just throwing it out. And I think that kind of process is necessary. You see the smaller labels, they'll do that. They'll throw a lot out at the ether, um,
Yeah.
and special packages, different, like in electronic music, we got, remixes or alternate versions. We
Yeah.
do this version in this time signature. It's got a world music beat. This one's a techno beat. This is new wave. This is this. You consistently put out different versions because you don't know which one is actually going to kick. And in different parts of the world, they could kick based on what people like.
Yeah.
Like Berlin saying to put something that's kind of Berlin, they're going to like it.
Yeah.
You put something that's got like a Seattle grunge vibe, they're going to like it. Right.
Yeah.
You put out different things in different versions, you can do really well. And you say, well, are you oversaturated? Not necessarily.
Yeah. 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 That's Oliver Tree did that with Life Goes On. he kept bringing in like rappers, and he did different versions, and there was just inundated like a million different directions, which
Mhm.
is funny because he says he hates marketing, but he's really good at it.
That's good. That's part of the marketing today is like if you can
Yeah,
get things in different flavors and you spin it and you can do the quick cut TikTok and the
yeah,
short and you can get yourself, put into a video game, you get
yeah,
into a commercial, you get into you get out there and however you can get out, right? And there's some people say, well, I'm not going to put my thing out in a product. Well, there's a lot of artists you don't even know their names and they're making tons of money because their stuff's on product.
yeah, exactly. There's a whole pocket of people, like if you get anywhere on YouTube, there's a pocket of people who just do like stock music type stuff. Like they're creators and they like making music, but if they, radio jingle type stuff without lyrics, things like
Yeah.
happy uke jams that are picked up and utilized, and you're now picking up royalties because of your creative process.
Yeah, because everything that's out there, usually every product has some kind of piece of art. My daughter's a graphic artist. She does
Yeah,
logos. She does like all kinds of like commercial graphic art stuff. And then she
yeah,
has her own kind of very directed projects that are not commercial. But then
right,
she does commercials. They're like seed packages for plant companies and logos
right,
for agricultural companies. And so she's really good at like plants. And so like she found a niche that does that, but that's not her main focus as an artist. But she found it's like, oh, these companies like it.
yeah,
So you just do it, and that's not her primary focus, but it pays the bills.
yeah. Like photographers taking wedding photos
Wedding
and senior
photographers,
photos, but they really want to do like this other thing, like
yeah.
I'm huge into like cemetery photography, but like
Mm.
who's buying that,
Well, you can use it for your images for your work.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so still finding that gets back into the right brain, left brain thing you were talking about a minute ago. You got the right brain thing that sells, but you still get to use that skill in a
Yeah,
way that's meaningful to you as a human.
I just think people should be able to give themselves the permission to create.
Yes.
And a lot of times people get scared, like you said, but initially people are fearful of the haters. Because
Yeah.
there's some people on the net, they spend all their time telling you, "I hated it." Like, really? Like, you're gonna spend effort to just talk about all things you hate.
Yes.
How productive is that?
Yeah.
So I'm like when they see somebody, like if somebody comes to me and say, "Well, the time signature was a little awkward, or you could have colored it with a different like chord, and maybe you should have used the E major seventh or
Yeah.
diminished." Like that's fine. Then you're telling me something interesting. If you just tell me
Yeah.
I hate this peg stuff. It's just terrible. I was like, what does that tell me? That
Yeah.
tells me like that's your taste. They're like, well, okay, well, everybody has different taste. It doesn't tell me that much.
Sounds like you have an excellent creative vision on this. Why don't you get to the studio and start doing that yourself then,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like the
What's
initial
your
knee-jerk reaction you want to tell them,
yeah, you're not giving me George Martin level advice.
Yeah, yeah, at all.
you know, because he's actually telling the lads, like, maybe you should use this other chord. Maybe we should do this. Like I was watching a documentary with him and how he kind of trained. He's like a master music teacher, basically teaching the Beatles like music theory when they didn't know it, right? And that really assisted them. And that's the best producer you can have is one that's kind of like a teacher, like a professor in music. And when
Yeah.
they take your original ideas and they don't destroy them,
Yes.
they enhance them because they
Right.
tell you like maybe you should actually voice this chord, maybe you should leave some space between the notes. They give you advice that doesn't destroy your work, it enhances your work. Versus
Right.
we have some very destructive producers that basically take your song and put it into their template,
Yes.
right? And that's not even you anymore, it's them. And
Right.
I'm like, well, what's the point of that? Because you could just put out something else. You can just put your own song out.
Yeah. 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 Like they just need somebody new to say what they've been trying to say in a different way, slightly.
Yeah. And they get royalties based on the fact that it's their signature sound, and they're getting actually the majority of the money, and then you're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So you don't want to get stuck into that. Like it's like, well, you might get 1,000,000 listens, but like 60% of the royalties goes to your producer,
Yes.
or 80% goes to your producer, and it's really not you.
Yeah.
So like, what did you do there?
Right. And then there's the added benefit, because we were talking concept albums. So if you make those initial investments into those guys or those bands, when the rage and the trauma, everything's pure, you're basically building into their potential. And then you start to see the concept albums. You see the evolution of what they're doing in music theory and the expansion into new territories. Like, instead of just those bands that fit in the can template, maybe one or two albums, and they fall off and you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
Whereas, 20-year careers are built with those momentary investments into their skill set and evolution as an artist.
Yeah, if you actually train an artist, and it's like, you take an athlete and you get a good coach and he trains them, and then that
Yeah.
becomes person becomes so valuable that every team wants that guy, right?
Yes.
Because they put the work in to make this guy like he's at the top, he's the alpha, whatever.
Yeah.
You take that, and the guy that's 17, 16, the lady said, and you start to show them what they can do with their voice, what they can do with their instrument, what they can do with lyrics,
Yeah.
but you still let them be the secret sauce of who they are.
Yes.
You get like a Liz Fair, you get like,
Yeah.
you get some of these, like, she's like a phenom, and she was very original,
Yes.
super original. It's like, and that to me is her secret sauce. She doesn't have a perfect pitch, but she is a really good songwriter.
Yeah.
And she has a unique way of her voice is unique, and it doesn't need to be like anybody else. That to
Right.
me that's the secret sauce of any great artist. I mean, that was the lesson with Dylan. That, like, he doesn't have like a typical singing voice,
Mm-mm.
but
No.
he's an amazing writer.
Yes.
And then he found a voice. He found different versions of his voice. These kind of nasal characterizations. He created like this unique voice. Now, whether
Yeah.
you take it or leave it, he created a voice that
Yes.
wasn't like anybody else. It's him.
Yeah.
That's winning.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's perfect.
That's right there. It's like either you can win, like Lou Reed. He's a poet. He just talks. His songs are basically him spoken word, and you can do that. If
Yeah.
you can learn. You found it's like, oh, you actually you can get away with that. Yeah, yeah, you can. you know.
Yeah. And there are bands that I've listened to that replicate that, like almost poetic rantings to music, and they do
Mhm.
it really well. Like, it's obviously big into folk, but it started bleeding into like
Other
hard
forms.
rock, heavy metal.
Yeah, because I think it's like really like the lyrics. Like every a lot of times every songwriter probably started as a poet.
Yeah.
And a lot of songwriters like Springsteen and Dylan are like, storytellers.
Right.
And if you whatever the genre is, whether it's heavy metal or punk, whether people are telling stories. I mean, Green Day,
Right.
does these big concept albums and their stories, you
Yes.
know, and it's the same as can you carry a story? Can you actually get to a point? There's a lot of dynamics with songwriters that are very similar to novelists,
Yes.
and you can learn a lot by just researching like novels.
Right.
And learn how to translate that from a poem to a song lyric, because a poem doesn't work like a song. But there's some things about, like, can you actually tell the story? Do you care about the protagonist? Does it have a hook? There's
Yes.
certain things that you gotta know. And then once you carry that around, then you got it.
Yeah. Yeah. The climax, the hidden reveal. Yeah. And that was the other thing, that it felt more accessible to be an author first, but to tell real stories. So,
Yeah.
like, I grew up with a lot of Garth Brooks, like a
Oh yeah.
lot, a
So
crazy amount. And I think as a kid in like 90s, 70s, 80s, that country where they were telling these unbelievable stories, that sometimes, or like the turn of phrase, like country music likes to use,
yeah, yeah.
like double meaning,
Yeah,
like,
I love Cash. Johnny Cash was really good at doing that.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of his stuff, The Man in Black, he just had this
Boy,
whole thing as an outlaw country, like he's the original like outlaw.
yeah,
And
yep,
then he has a lot of things in terms like Ring of Fire, and it's like he would turn these phrases, and they have a lot of meaning.
yes,
Um, and he's always kind of being like the anti-hero, talking about, going to Folsom Prison,
Yes.
and just like speaking out for the outsider, speaking out for somebody maybe they're wrongfully incarcerated. Like he would have these stories. It wasn't just the typical like, oh, I just like I love her, she don't love me.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said before a minute ago, a boy named Sue.
Yeah,
Like they named this dude Sue so that he's tough, and
he can
like as
fight.
you see that evolves, he hates his parents, but it makes him kind of part of who he is. But yeah, like that was the part that intrigued me about music, is how do you tell these impactful stories in such a short moment in time, and at the end of that listening experience, somehow, some way, you're better.
Yeah,
You're a
it's a
better
lesson
human
learned.
being for having consumed that. And that's what I've always wanted to give back, is like you feel guilty taking all the time, and you're like, man, how in the world do I give back even a shred of what some of these people have given me, some of these intense moments that they helped me through?
Mhm.
How do you give even a piece of that back to anyone else looking for anything to cling to? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's the whole process is like how we interpret like all the stuff that you like um consume as a listener or
Yeah.
a reader. When you're an artist, is like so in your subconscious is all these reference points, but
Yes.
the filter is your
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah.
So it's not like cloning or sampling. Like if I go and listen to Lead Belly, then I reinterpret it and play it on my guitar.
Yes.
How I interpret Lead Belly is not what Lead Belly did.
Right.
I can tell you where it came from, and it's like, yeah, I was inspired by Lead Belly or Robert Johnson, but
Yes.
it is not exactly note for note. It's my interpretation of it, and so
Right.
that's what happens in art. And some people say, "Oh, you're copying." It's like, no, no, no. There's a difference from being inspired and straight note for note copying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Where Did You Sleep Last Night is a perfect example. Like the way Lead Belly did it, and then the way Kurt Cobain did it. And with
Yeah,
Kurt Cobain's experiences, the whole Courtney Love and potential divorce,
yeah,
and all of a sudden, Where Did You Sleep Last Night is a completely different
yeah.
song.
That's great.
Same haunting melody, same like unbelievable, goosebumps when you hear it. But you're like, from Kurt Cobain's perspective, that's a way different song. You know what I mean? And
Well,
still meaningful.
that's the whole point of art
Yeah.
is like you're gonna have these reinterpretations, and it could
Yes.
be in different genres, different voices, different spacing, different timing, but it becomes a valid. Like I always point out, like Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of Voodoo Child versus Hendrix's.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Hendrix is this cosmic psychedelic thing, very
Yes.
unique. Like Stevie turned into a Texas blues based song,
Yes.
kind of like an Albert King version of the song.
Yeah.
And it's a different type of blues version. And people can say which one is superior. Well, Hendrix actually wrote it, so I mean, but I mean, but it's like it to me, both of them live. I can love both of them.
Yeah.
You don't have to like either or. I love both of them. And so that's the point. Like that's how artists can you can reinterpret things.
Yeah. It's all about perspective, and that's the thing that unique to every human being. Is that we have this perspective, we have a lens, and we have experiences that no one else can replicate. No matter how hard you try, no one can replicate the life that I've lived.
Yeah,
You can't
that's the
train a
secret.
machine to do that. We mentioned briefly during the pre-show about AI. You can't teach AI to live the life that I've lived.
Well, it doesn't feel pain. I mean, that's the biggest thing about
Yeah, it
AI.
doesn't feel the agony.
I tell tech bros is like you're saying, oh, it can do the song. It's like it does the song because it takes a bunch of clips from multiple artists and does a collage. And the
Yes.
collage is very convincing. But
Yes.
the collage has no emotion, no soul, no spirit. And just because you created a WAV file doesn't mean you actually created a WAV file that has any heart. The
Right.
tech bros don't understand just because you created a WAV file that has this many megabytes and it actually produced it and it's not unlistenable, it doesn't sound like somebody's scraping on a wall,
Right.
doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah, where AI might have spent 2 minutes searching the entire internet for anything to piece together, how much time, just for instance, did you spend as a human being trying to heal from a toxic relationship? You're
Yeah.
talking months,
Yeah.
months of torment and trauma and relearning and learning how to walk again and then learning how to be successful in the next relationship. You can't replicate that. That's
No.
all perspective that is just being drilled into a song, into a painting, into a photo. Like, we have to tell those stories, and only we can tell them, because no one has our perspective. No
It's
one
like,
else has what we have.
it's like I would try to tell people, it's like, listen to an Amy Winehouse or a Karen Carpenter,
Yeah.
right? There's pain in their voices, right? It's pain
Yes.
in their delivery. AI is maybe it'll clone, but it's never gonna experience the pain that Karen or Amy felt and was able to convey
Yeah.
through their voice. Man,
Yeah.
until you get a computer that actually has got a real personality, that has a soul,
Yeah.
like none of these machines have soul. So I don't care what the tech bros say. I'm a techie myself. It's like it doesn't have soul.
Yeah.
It doesn't
That's
have heart. It doesn't have spirit. So what it gives you is a very convincing kind of junk food thing.
yes.
And junk food, you'll go and pick up that burger because it consistently gives you what you want, but it's not like you went to that diner, that has the real thing you want, but you didn't
Yeah.
have time to go to the diner.
Yeah, that's an awesome analogy. Like, real nutrition, real artistic nutrition versus fast food.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
what it is.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
like
and
that.
the fast food is like fine, but is it really does it satisfy the soul? I don't think it does. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we have to push back on these tech bros because they want to sell us whatever, 'cause
Yeah. Yeah, and I would never encourage, but does AI have the ability to be addicted to drugs and alcohol for multiple years and have to, no,
no, it
like,
doesn't have that
never would it
pain.
never encourage that, but
It would never sound like Neil Young on Tonight's the Night.
yeah.
That kind of scratchy, kind of out of phase, kind of almost like out of tune on purpose,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But really, because he's feeling the pain and he didn't
Yes.
fix it and he allowed it to be raw.
Right.
Like, or Kurt Cobain, like being raw, or like Bob
Yes.
Mould and Who's to Do being raw. He's like
Yeah.
that is something or the Ramones, like the raw or any of the punk aesthetic, like a punk aesthetic. You get like the Clash, you get the
Yes.
Ramones. There's something about that honesty. Is like, hey, I don't have perfect pitch, but I'm honest.
Yeah. I'm not
That
gonna
that
lie to you.
yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah.
But I want to let you know, like we always go over a little bit, but this was a really good show, so I've gone over a little bit. But I
It's
think
good
it's awesome.
conversation, man. I love it.
And we've got your duelistmedia.com. We've got your
Yep.
Instagram, the duelist media there, and those will be fully clickable. If people click on your link, that's how they can get to your book.
Yep. Yeah. So I have a copy right here just to kind of show. Again, music memoir. I built a playlist of my life. So it does all these evolutions of things that you and I have talked about, going from Garth Brooks and 90s country into pop, radio rock, into metal, new metal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I basically just built a playlist of my life and wrote one entry per day for a year to show my journey and what music ultimately meant to me and why I want to choose to use the voice that it helped develop over these times to hopefully heal the next generation. It's kind of living in the space that you are.
Yeah, I like the music. I think is the ultimate panacea for
Yeah.
that, like what ails you, and art in itself, and whether you're writing about it or actually in the form itself, and you're in both. I
Yes.
think it's really cool to actually be out here talking it to creators, and I encourage people to click on the links that we provided, check
Yeah.
out the work you have, buy the book, and I want to thank you for being a guest on the Family Electric Ghost podcast.
Yeah. Fantastic. Again, great discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.